Close your eyes for one breath. Picture the life you could have if every promise you made to yourself, the small ones and the big ones, actually held. Not someday. Not when you feel like it. Now open your eyes. That moment between what you want and what you do is called self-discipline. Tonight I'm not here to give you motivation that fades by sunrise. I'm here to hand you a map. A way to make discipline your muscle, your voice, your first instinct. If you listen, one decision at a time, you will outgrow excuses, outlast fear, and become someone who keeps their own word. Let's begin. Discipline is the bridge between the life you dream of and the life you live in silence. Every one of us carries within our chest a vision, a picture of who we could be if we stopped betraying our own potential. Yet, too often, that vision is buried beneath delay, distraction, and excuses. Self-discipline is not just about waking up earlier, working harder, or resisting temptation. It is about honoring that vision, proving to yourself every day that your life matters enough to fight for without discipline. Dreams stay locked in notebooks, goals stay pinned to vision boards, and talents stay hidden where no one will ever see them. The cost is not just lost opportunities, it is regret. And regret is heavier than failure will ever be. Regret whispers in your ear at night, asking why you gave up on yourself, why you let comfort win over calling. But when discipline enters the room, everything shifts. With discipline, your word becomes law, not to the world, but to yourself. You begin to trust your own voice again. You begin to rise with purpose instead of rolling over into apathy. Discipline transforms ordinary days into extraordinary progress. One act of discipline, one workout, 1 hour of focus, one promise, kept may seem small in the moment, but together they build a life that commands respect, both from yourself and from others. Discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. It frees you from the prison of laziness, from the chains of procrastination, from the constant cycle of starting and quitting. It gives you power over yourself, and the person who has power over themselves cannot be controlled by anyone or anything else. Self-discipline is often misunderstood. Many people hear the word and immediately think of restriction, punishment, or a joyless life. They imagine discipline as a cage that strips away freedom. But the truth is the exact opposite. Self-discipline is not a prison. It is the key that unlocks the door to freedom. It is the power to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. At its core, self-discipline means making decisions that align with who you want to become, not just what you feel in the moment. Feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall like waves, but discipline anchors you in the middle of that storm, reminding you of your greater purpose. It's not about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing the pleasure that lasts, the kind that fills you with pride instead of regret. Think about the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is like a spark, bright, exciting, but temporary. Discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive long after the spark fades. Motivation may get you started, but it cannot carry you through the days when you don't feel like moving forward. Discipline does. And discipline is not rigid perfection. It doesn't mean you never stumble, never fall, Never give in to weakness. It means that when you do, you rise again and keep moving. It's the quiet voice inside that says, I will not quit on myself today. Consider two people with the same dream. One waits for motivation to strike. The other builds discipline. Day by day, the first lives in cycles of starting and stopping. The second, even with small steps, eventually arrives at the dream because they refused to rely on feelings alone. That is the truth of self-discipline. So many people dismiss self-discipline before they even try to practice it because they've been fed lies about what it is. One of the most common myths is, I'm just not born disciplined. People convince themselves that discipline is a talent, a personality trait, something you either have or you don't. But that is not the truth. Discipline is not in your DNA. It is in your decisions. Every disciplined person you admire wasn't born that way. They became that way through repetition, through small choices, through refusing to surrender when it was easier to give in. Another myth whispers, discipline kills joy, as if living with discipline means living without happiness, fun, or freedom. But look closer. The undisciplined life is not freedom. It's slavery to impulses, emotions, and distractions. The person who cannot control their habits is not free. They are chained. True joy comes not from indulging every desire, but from knowing you have power over your life, from building something lasting, from looking in the mirror and respecting the person staring back at you. That joy is only born through discipline. And perhaps the most dangerous myth of all is this: I'll start being disciplined when I feel ready. That day never comes. Readiness is an illusion, waiting for the perfect mood. The perfect circumstances, or the perfect time is just procrastination in disguise. The reality is this: discipline begins the moment you act in spite of not feeling ready. Discipline is forged in discomfort. It is not something you wait for. It is something you choose when you strip away the myths. You see the truth clearly. Self-discipline is not about denying life. It is about claiming life. When people think of discipline, they often picture massive, life-altering changes, waking up at 4 a.m., working non-stop, cutting out every distraction overnight. But discipline does not begin with giant leaps. It begins with small, consistent steps. The truth is, tiny wins compound. Just like money grows through interest, your discipline grows through repetition. Imagine committing to something as simple as making your bed every morning. At first, it feels almost meaningless, but day after day, that tiny action rewires your brain. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes what they start. You create a ripple effect. If you can stay consistent with something so small, you prove to yourself you can handle bigger challenges. That is how identity is shaped. One tiny promise kept at a time. The power of starting small lies in its sustainability. Anyone can push hard for a week, but most people burn out because they tried to change everything all at once. Small wins prevent overwhelm. They bypass resistance. It's easier to commit to reading one page than a whole book. Easier to commit to 5 push-ups than an hour at the gym. And once you start, momentum carries you forward. That one page becomes a chapter Those 5 push-ups become 20. It's not about how fast you move. It's about the fact that you're moving at all. The compound effect of discipline does not reveal itself immediately, but weeks later, months later, you look back and realize how far you've traveled. What once felt impossible becomes effortless, because you trained yourself through tiny wins. Most people chase results. They say, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to save $5,000. I want to write a book. But chasing outcomes alone is fragile, because the moment progress slows, motivation dies. The deeper truth is this: lasting discipline is not about outcomes. It's about identity. It's not about what you want to achieve. It's about who you decide to become. Think about the difference between saying, I want to run a marathon, and saying, I am a runner. The first is a goal. The second is an identity. Goals can fail, but identity is something you carry into every single day. When you see yourself as a runner, you run even when it rains, even when you're tired, even when nobody is watching. The identity pulls you forward when the outcome feels far away. This shift is powerful because identity shapes behavior. Every choice you make is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you keep the promise to wake up early, you're casting a vote for the identity of a disciplined person. When you choose to study instead of scrolling, you're casting a vote for the identity of a focused learner. Over time, those votes add up until your identity becomes undeniable. And here's the beauty. You don't need to wait years to call. You're self-disciplined. You claim that identity the moment you act in alignment with it. One disciplined choice today is enough to begin shaping the story you tell about yourself. Ask yourself not, what outcome do I want? But rather, who do I want to be? Because once identity is locked in, outcomes take care of themselves. Discipline thrives not on willpower alone, but on structure. Too many people rely on sheer determination, only to collapse when exhaustion sets in. Willpower is like a battery. It drains quickly. Systems, however, are like solar panels. They recharge you by design. If you truly want to live a disciplined life, you cannot leave it to chance. You must create an environment and structure that makes success inevitable. Think of it this way. If your phone is always within reach, social media will steal your focus. But if you place it in another room while you work, you've removed friction and made discipline easier. That is the essence of systems. Designing your world so that the right choice becomes the easy choice, and the wrong choice becomes harder to reach. Systems can be as simple as habit stacking, linking a new behavior to an old one. For example, after brushing your teeth, you journal for 2 minutes. After making coffee, you review your goals. Small anchors like these create a rhythm that eliminates the constant need to decide what to do next. There is also power in if-then plans. If I feel distracted, then I will take a 1-minute pause. If I miss a workout, then I will make up for it tomorrow at noon. These systems remove uncertainty and give you a clear script when life tests you. Discipline is not about fighting every temptation. It's about setting up your life so temptations lose their grip. Systems are promises you make to your future self. And every time you honor them, you send yourself a message. I am in control. I am the architect of my own life. Every battle for discipline begins in the mind. It is not always laziness or lack of time that holds you back. It is often emotions. The urge to quit, the craving for comfort, the voice of doubt whispering, "Just skip it today." If you cannot master these moments, discipline slips through your fingers. But here's the truth. Emotions are not commands. They are signals. You feel them, but you do not have to obey them. One of the most powerful tools is the pause. When temptation hits, the urge to grab your phone, skip the workout, or break your routine, stop for just 10 seconds. Breathe deeply. Name the feeling. This is boredom. This is fatigue. This is resistance. By naming it, you create distance from it. You remind yourself, I have emotions, but I am not ruled by them. Another tool is time boxing, assigning strict blocks of time to your tasks. Instead of saying, I'll study later, you commit, from 6 to 7 p.m., I will study. This removes the endless debate in your head and locks your energy into action. And remember, willpower is finite. You cannot depend on it for every choice. That's why systems, routines, and identity carry you when your energy runs low. But even when willpower fades, there is a weapon stronger than feelings: commitment. Discipline means honoring your word, even when your mood betrays you. When you learn to manage emotions instead of being managed by them, you reclaim power. You stop being a prisoner of impulse and become the master of your choices. And once you taste that control, you begin to realize true freedom is born in discipline. No matter how strong your discipline becomes, you will stumble. You will break a promise to yourself, miss a day, give in to temptation. And in that moment, the danger is not the mistake itself. It is the story you tell yourself afterward. Too many people fall once and say, "See, I'm not disciplined. I'll never change." That is the lie that kills dreams. Failure is not the end. It is data. It is feedback. It is a lesson in disguise. Resilience is the ability to get up faster. Then you fall. Discipline is not about being flawless. It's about being relentless. The person who succeeds is not the one who never fails, but the one who refuses to stay down. Every scar, every stumble, every missed step is proof that you are still in the fight. When you fall, the first step is ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame circumstances. Say to yourself, I slipped, but I am still in control of how I respond. That honesty keeps you powerful. The second step is adjustment. Ask, what triggered this setback? How can I remove that trigger tomorrow? The third step is immediate recommitment. Not next week, not next month. Now, get back to the routine the very next moment. Because the truth is, the faster you rise, the less damage the fall can do. Discipline is like a muscle. It grows not only when you succeed, but also when you recover. Every comeback strengthens your belief that nothing can break you for long. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are signs of survival. They are proof that you were tested and you chose to rise again. That is the heartbeat of true discipline. Discipline is not built in the extraordinary moments. It is forged in the rhythm of ordinary days. The way you start and end your day sets the tone for everything in between. Morning and evening rituals are the anchors that hold you steady. When life tries to pull you off course, each morning is a fresh battlefield. If you wake up and immediately grab your phone, you hand control of your mind to the world. But if you begin with intention, even something as simple as 5 minutes of silence, writing down your priorities, or affirming who you choose to be today, you seize control before distractions arrive. A disciplined morning is not about perfection. It's about direction. It tells your mind, I am in charge today. And just as the morning sets the stage, the evening closes the chapter. Too often, people drag themselves to bed with no reflection, no awareness, only exhaustion. But a disciplined evening gives you power over tomorrow. It could be as simple as reviewing what you accomplished, asking yourself where you stayed true, and where you drifted, and setting one clear intention for the next day. This ritual trains your brain to live with awareness instead of autopilot. These rituals don't need to be long or complicated. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. That's enough to anchor your discipline. Over time, they create a rhythm that makes discipline natural, automatic, almost effortless. Because discipline is not just about what you do in the middle of the day, when everyone is watching. It's about the bookends of your day, the quiet moments where you either drift into chaos or choose alignment. Rituals are the proof that discipline lives in the details. Now, everything we've discussed, the tiny wins, the identity shifts, the systems, the resilience, all of it comes down to one simple truth. Action. Discipline is nothing without action. You can understand every concept, feel every emotion, and be inspired by every word. But none of it matters if you do not choose to act today. The time to wait is over. The perfect moment does not exist. The perfect you is built in the imperfect. Now, I want you to make a pledge. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, choose one habit, one commitment, one small but meaningful act that represents your highest self. Write it down. Say it aloud. Tell yourself, I will do this. I will honor myself. I will not quit on me. This pledge is more than a promise. It is a declaration of identity. It is the first brick in the foundation of the life you deserve. Understand that the path will test you. You will stumble. You will feel tired, distracted, or unworthy. That is not failure. It is the proving ground of your discipline. Every time you recommit, every time you rise after a fall, every time you choose consistency over comfort, you are engraving your name into the story of your own greatness. Imagine yourself 30 days from now. Picture the person who has kept this pledge, who has resisted distractions, honored commitments, and trusted themselves. That person is stronger, more capable, more unstoppable than you are today. And that person begins with the choice you make right now. So make it real, make it actionable, make it undeniable. Take the first step. Stand up for yourself, speak your pledge, and then live it. Because nothing transforms a life faster than a decision to stop waiting and start becoming.